To be nice to people. Do unto others, you know? So, for someone to judge me, report me, and potentially get my whole channel taken down, not once, but twice, just because they disagree with content I produced, purely because it contradicted their own headcanon. Yeah. Reevaluation. It wasn't what I expected from this fandom.
I suppose we can emphasize love and tolerate to everyone we meet in our community, but it only takes a few individuals to create long-lasting divisiveness like this. I have done my utmost to be kind and considerate, even in the face of those who would seek to offend me. And I know that even with all my success in helping others to see things from a new perspective, to join in with so many others partaking in the fun, I can't help everyone. And I too have felt that sting of having my work taken away from me. To this day, I still don't know the reasons behind it, but I very much understand that desire to reevaluate everything I've accomplished due to unexpected circumstances. However, even in my darkest hours, there were still many.
I've been searching for that feeling in everything I make. The feeling of wanting to see something that doesn't exist and making it exist.
I'm glad to hear that you found your passion and drive to create, even if it was for a video that includes 2 already existing properties. Though I suppose your concern about creating an entirely new property of your own and seeing it become just as successful as your most popular works is understandable. I'm sure that most every content creator goes through that feeling at some point. And it seems that only a select few can pull that off when they first set out to do so. Many others tend to fail along the way, with some lacking the motivation to try again, unfortunately. In your case, though, you have already achieved something that so many other people only dream of. You've gathered quite a large audience, and your talents are continuing to improve with every new project. It can be disheartening when you discover that your dreams are not going to be as attainable as you'd like them to be, especially when your surroundings have kept trying to convince you that such a path is not worthwhile. I commend you for finding the necessary drive to keep yourself going for as long as you have, though there is something to be said for circumstances that kept working against you. It keeps you from getting too comfortable. It keeps you from becoming overconfident. It gives you more of a reason to keep pushing onward, other than just being research on Mr. Delancey. Your video discussing his career actually includes a story about how friendly and positive he can be even in the most embarrassing of circumstances during a convention. I'm sure that neither of us could really determine what's going to happen at Everfree, but I know that you've been building towards this goal and that you will more than likely treasure this opportunity no matter what happens. May I ask what you hope is going to happen most?
Oh, that's easy. I'm hoping the interview goes well. I think I like chatting with someone who's done their homework and not asking the same Star Trek questions that he's heard a million times. Confirmation that he's seen and appreciated the video, and maybe a possibility to touch past every odd convention or so, as more have been asking for both of us lately. Of course, I have unrealistic hopes, but those seem to be the most grounded ideas.
Well then, I suppose that begs the question. I know that neither you nor I have anywhere near the number of fans that Mr. Delancey has accumulated over the years, but we still have watchers who have seen all of our videos multiple times, learned every fact there is to learn about our characters and even our real-life selves, and are begging for the chance to meet us in person someday. Let's say for a moment that someone has done all their homework, knows just the right kind of questions to ask you, habits, and supporting each other in the everyday, in the small and simple ways. Perhaps you are correct in your fears, Golden Fox. Perhaps there will be moments when your anger will get the better of you and lead into times of hurt and regret. But if you truly want to bolster the bond you two share so that you may be ready for those unexpected moments, then I would say that you should devote yourself to sacrificing a little bit more for each other in the seemingly small and simple ways, in the everyday habits that you two cultivate within your relationship. Might I ask just what you two have been sacrificing for each other as of late? Something that really hadn't happened until this special bond had begun to develop?
Well, besides the obvious sacrifice of time so we can see each other and talk, I have to say what I've sacrificed the most is, well, my walls. Ponies see me as some pony who is very extroverted, and I do love to make people smile and laugh and entertain them. It's what I was put on this earth to do. But I'm not as open about my feelings that aren't positive as much as some ponies think I am. Obviously, you know about this issue, Doc. And I won't say that the issue is
and if other ponies see me being less than awesome, and if they see me fail, then it looks like I'm living a lie. Like I never really deserved my awesome reputation. And that I'm just some no pony with a big ego.
I see. So you feel that you have a certain image to maintain in the eyes of others? And that image doesn't allow for you to fail in any duty at any time, or to show any degree of uncertainty, weakness, or vulnerability?
Yeah, that.
I imagine it must be quite exhausting trying to maintain this perfect image and reputation at all times.
Exhausting? Police! I got stamina like you wouldn't believe!
Perhaps, but are you certain your drive to always project this image of awesomeness has always been for the better?
Well, to tell you the truth, there was this one time when I may have gone a little bit overboard. I was saving ponies from problems and accidents all over town, and at first I was doing it because it was the right thing to do, but I got so many cheers and pats on the back that I got carried away. It became all about getting those cheers and having that reputation. I guess you could say I let my ego get the better of me for a while. And when some pony else started getting that attention, when I was no longer needed,
I imagine you started that for a while she was deluding herself into thinking that if she just tried hard enough, persisted endlessly, that she would one day reach that goal. And in flight to the finish, she had to accept the fact that she may never have that capability to be like her idol. Naturally, this sort of realization would cause just about anyone to despair.
Yeah, I think I have seen that one. Is that where Diamond Tiara convinces Scootaloo that she's not good enough to participate in the show? And then Scootaloo spends part of the episode coming to terms with that realization?
It wasn't something she was able to do on her own. She had to be told that she has great talents and enormous potential even if she wasn't able to achieve her lifelong dream. And that is something that she is still learning to deal with even to this day.
You know, I'm interested to see if Hasbro really will go in the direction of having Scootaloo with a permanent disability. I'd like to see how they would tread in that possibly sensitive and touchy subject matter, so as to treat
half-heartedly or didn't put my all into, I get those same types of comments. I honestly don't know if it's my humbleness taking over me or something else entirely.
Interesting. I must admit I haven't had that kind of experience as of yet. I've been overwhelmed by positive feedback, and it's rather difficult to look back at my earliest works without cringing, but I've still held on to everything I've made despite their flaws. I honestly don't know how I'd react if I somehow lost interest in the work and walked away entirely. I've spent the last few years dedicating my free time towards these videos, and, at least for now, I have a hard time thinking about what purpose my life would have without them. Yet at the same time, I suppose I can understand why people would look back at my earliest works and still find worthwhile elements. I was rather proud of my very first video because it was something I'd never done before. Of course I was afraid of what others would think, but at the very least I could say that I tried. And perhaps those who come across those works for the first time can really appreciate seeing something new that we can no longer see ourselves. After all, we tend to gravitate towards new experiences over time because we crave variety. I, for one, can appreciate all that encouragement, though. It's still rather difficult for me to accept what I could be capable of. I actually brushed aside all the encouragement from my family and friends over the decades about doing something with my voice simply because I had a hard time believing I could ever draw in an audience. You and I may have something in common here, Thespio.
She saw that this fandom is much more than just praising a show and parroting it. The series, the creations, and the people inside the fandom gave her something that will stand the test of time. It gave her hope. She saw the camaraderie and the beautiful things that said camaraderie makes, all starting from this one show. And personally, I believe that when the series does inevitably end, the friendships and the impacts made during the time it was on will last longer than the show itself. It's like what Twilight said in the season opener about the elements of harmony bringing the main six together. But it's their bond that will keep them together. My friend has become more happy, creative, adventurous, and extroverted. She will keep all the lessons and memories she's gotten for as long as she can. And I'm not saying MLP is a cure. It's not. But it can help someone, even a little bit, to getting over those bumps and pits in the road ahead. That maybe, one day, she can help give others what this community has given to her.
Why wait, though? The reason why this community has such a marvelous effect on its fans is the fact that we keep paying it forward. I have been putting this message into so many of my videos, and I'd honestly like to see our fandom grow in a positive light. In my experiences, the best long-term cure for depression actually comes from putting aside one's own needs and dedicating yourself to uplifting others. Allowing yourself to become bored and/or lonely while depressed tends to make the effects far worse. Being idle draws your mind deeper. Someone would want to attack you in such a way, but I can think of one reason why it seems to keep coming back. You keep responding. You feel the drive to do something, anything to turn aside the hate because it feels even worse to do nothing at all.
Hit the nail on the head, because when I do respond, half the time the person actually admits they were out of line and everyone makes up and everything's all hunky-dory. Sometimes I even become good friends with them. That sort of reaction gives me a bit of hope that I can... This is gonna sound off topic, but are you familiar with the 7 virtues and sins?
Vaguely, yes.
Long story short, people have strong inclinations towards 7 specific virtues and vices. For me, I'd have to say my virtue is justice and my vice is wrath. I can't stand seeing an unjust situation and I feel compelled to do something about it, but it's very easy for my emotions to take over and compromise the principles I tried to stand for. I know this is a problem, and it's a problem I've had my entire life. I get so angry and holier than thou at people who don't matter in the long run. I either lash out at them or respond with venomous condescension. Then I get angry at myself for doing that. It's like a freaking snowball effect.
Which leads into feeling down on yourself, while still feeling angry at those who have left such hateful comments. I don't know about you, Firebrand, but I don't feel like I can be a good influence on anyone when I feel that way. It is an especially hard thing to put aside that need to resolve the issues of others. But that is what I would like to focus on.
Happened. And then the mean-spirited cherry bomb appeared. Then... Fully matropony. It won't be okay. It won't be okay. It won't be okay!
So there was a time long ago in which you were impressed with Friendship is Witchcraft, until they started to go in a direction that you didn't like. Suddenly the episodes were not as entertaining as they once were.
Well, when I went back to do my review of the material, I found out the hard way they weren't entertaining at all. Everything I knew was a lie! Except for the Sweetie Bot episode.
Perhaps when you started doing reviews, you learned more about how to analyze these works, and thus your mind was better able to pick up on these weaknesses that you hadn't noticed before.
That is possible, but I didn't start reviewing until June of 2012, which that video is no longer available. Thanks, Shout Factory. But I'm getting off topic. I guess I noticed the quality was diminishing because I put Nay's Soul Sister so high on a pedestal. Kind of like what Rainbow Dash did for Daring Do, only she didn't end up